So in our little bungalow up here, we have this room, and it's really dark. It's got these windows over here that need to come out eventually, and we're going to put a patio outside, and there'll be French doors that'll go there. But over here, we need more light to come in there, and we have a creek that's on the other side of that window. So we're gonna basically put two windows in, and I have two windows sitting right there, and I was in the process of marking out where they're going to go, trying to fit in between existing studs that are already in the wall, so I take out as minimal amount of studs as possible. The other thing that I'm looking to do is, instead of cutting and just demoing the drywall on this wall, I'm going to remove the screws. That's what all those little marks are that you see on the wall. I'm going to remove all these screws, cut the drywall cleanly, pull it off in one piece. Well, not one piece, but the full sheets that where I cut them at, and then I should be able to reuse the drywall. Drywall is really not that expensive. It's like $7 a 4x8 sheet, and fairly easy to use. But when you're on a budget, you have to do what you need to do to save a little bit of money. So anyway, that's the plan, and I'll show you how I go about finding all the drywall screws, because they're buried beneath all the drywall mud. So we'll go from there. This type of magnet here is one that you use to find screws and nails in drywall. And basically you take it up against the wall and you run it back and forth until it finds you can see right there, it's actually found a drywall screw, and it locks onto it. This one's not as strong to find the screws, so basically when this one locks on, that means that right there is a screw. What I like to do is use this magnet for finding screws in drywall. It's much stronger, and it helps me zero in on where it's at really quickly. I can go really fast. I can go really fast until it finds a screw, and it immediately kind of locks onto it because of how powerful it is. Once I find that particular location, I then kind of circle it, and then I can come in with this one, and it'll basically tell me exactly where the screw is at. And then I have a simple pick, and I come in and I chip away at the drywall, and of course you can automatically feel the screw right there. And you chip around it, take the as much drywall mud out of the screw as possible, and then you can get your screw gun, put it on there, and out comes the screw. So I got to do that for the whole wall, and as you can see, I've started it. I've started marking and finding all the screws. When I open up this wall, I'm going to have to remove the drywall all the way down to the floor, even though my two windows are only going to be up here. Reason for that is I have to put new studs in for the window, and they need to go all the way down to the floor and all the way up to the new header that I'm going to put in. So that's the reason why I have to take the drywall off all the way down to the ground. So I'll continue to mark out these screws and score the drywall where it comes in two sheets. Fortunately, it's pretty easy for me to find where the seam is at, because whoever installed the drywall in the first place did a very crappy job, and right there is a seam. So this has some mesh that's in it that you use to, this is the fiberglass mesh that you put on between the two layers of drywall to help seam them together so they don't crack. This didn't crack, it's just a poor shoddy job in how they put the two layers together. They probably didn't put any backing in behind this drywall to suck it in so that they were both flush with each other. Instead, they just used the studs along this way to put this in. So basically, I'll take my drywall matte knife, and I'll run along the seam here, and so basically it'll score and cut that mesh tape. So when I pull this section of drywall down, it'll easily come away from this drywall without it ripping all apart right here. All right, so what we have, this is where my window is going to start over here, and I've marked a spot here on the wall where the stud is at over here. And what I need to do is I want to leave the drywall in perfect condition to where my window starts. Now there's a stud that's already here, but what I need to do in order to put the header in for this window is I need to add a king stud basically, and I'm going to attach the king stud directly to the regular stud that's already in place. So I don't want to cut this drywall here because I have to add another stud in here next to it, which is 1.5 inches. So I need to add it next to this other one. So I need to kind of find out where the edge of this stud is at here. Hopefully it's straight up and down. If not, I have to compensate for that. And then I have to add another 1.5 inches to that stud. And then when I get that line, that's where I'm going to cut the drywall so that when I stick the stud in there, the drywall is flush with the stud. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to find out where exactly the edge of this stud is, because I can't really rely on where the screws are at. And I didn't mark these screws on this stud because I'm not going to take those out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out where the edge of it is, see if it's level. I'm not worried. I want to keep this drywall, but I don't care about this drywall. This drywall over on this side will get thrown in the trash because I don't need it. I do where below the window, where the windows are below the window, the drywall also I want to keep, so I don't want to damage this area also. So we'll find out where the edge of the stud is and go from there. Go too far, just in case the stud is over here a little bit further. So I can feel the stud back there. It's basically, you know, about where I thought it was going to be is right here. So I'll get my tape. Measure in how far that stud is. Edge of the stud. So right here is 4 inches. Maybe a little bit farther. So if I know that that's 4 inches, and I measure over here, 4 inches, that is where the edge of that existing stud is. So theoretically, if the studs are straight up and down, I should be able to match it by putting this level on here, like so, drawing a line. That should be exactly where the existing stud is, which would be this side is the wood. So what I'm planning on doing is then adding another stud next to this, which will be 1.5 inches. and that's if this stud is straight up and down. So once again, I'll mark my extra 1.5 inches that I added on here, like so. Make sure it's nice and level. And this is the line that I'm going to want to cut my drywall to. Now I'm not going to cut it right away until I do my best to verify that this stud is in here. And from what I've seen on this building so far is nothing is done properly. So this stud could be in here sideways, it could have warped, it could be all types of different things wrong with it. So I'll start kind of cutting out a section of this so that I can keep measuring over and see where I'm at. So one of the biggest challenges that anybody has when they're cutting open a wall is the electrical. You know, I'm getting to a point now where I need to start cutting this drywall, and I don't want to just take a sawzall or a jigsaw or a mat knife or whatever your preferred preference is of cutting the drywall away. You always have to be concerned about electrical wiring. This plug that's right here, the electrical wiring could come straight down and then probably down through here and then across to feed that, and then along this level all the way over to feed that electrical plug. Or this plug could go all the way up to the ceiling and come in from the attic and feed the line down this way. Or this plug could come across here and then drop down. So this line that I have here that I need to cut across, I don't necessarily just want to run my sawzall blade across there to cut that out. So there's several different ways that you can do it. I have a tool called a fine tool that you can put a blade on it, and then you can just barely cut through the surface of this. And in doing so, and by not going too deep, you can 95% of the time, if the wiring was done properly, you will miss all the electrical. Sometimes if the wiring is not done properly and it's not even secure, just drop down. A lot of times the wiring is like that during a remodel, where they didn't have the luxury of getting in there and securing the electrical wiring to the studs, so it's just kind of flopping in there. So it could be laying right up against the drywall in this particular area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop open a hole in here and try and find out what direction this plug is actually going to. So let's pop some holes in here. I don't want to pop any holes below this line because I want to reuse this drywall. This drywall up here I don't care about. The hole that I punched in over there, I did notice that this seam line here between this 4x8 sheet of drywall and this 4x8 sheet of drywall, they do have some blocking in here that they used to secure this drywall. So why this line wasn't better mudded out, I don't know. But we have the studs coming right here, and then we have some blocking that goes in between there. I can pop a hole into here, which I should be able to feel down to see if wiring is going down this way, and find out where this wiring direction is coming from, or how it's feeding it. So let's do that now. In there. Oh, there's the Romex right there coming up, and it's actually stapled to this stud that's running right here. So check, make sure nothing's coming below it, and it's not. All right, that's interesting. So what I'm seeing here is it appears that this wiring, which is really what I didn't want it to do, is going up. There's a line that's coming up, which means it's right where I want to put my windows. So it's probably being fed from up above, coming down the wall. It goes into this junction box, and then this line branches out, comes along these studs, and then probably goes along the wall and drops down to feed that plug there, and maybe even around the rest of the building here. So with that in mind, I should say you should shut your breakers down when you're cutting, but I usually don't do that. I feel that it's safe that I can cut this line right here all the way across. What I'll probably do is double check on a couple more spots and make sure, feel in there. I know for a fact that there's no wiring from between this stud and this stud, but who knows, once I get on the other side of this stud that's right here, that plug that's down there may come up and feed across, down this level. So I just don't know how many times, I don't know exactly how that's getting power. I'm assuming that it's getting power from this that's running along here, and they probably dropped it down. Well, why don't we find out? So the wiring comes across, goes into this stud, and then goes down and feeds that line right there. I can feel over here. Once again, there's no wiring into here, so I'm probably safe all the way across. So that's good there. And what I'll do is I'll check right here, make sure there's no wiring over here. Once again, I want to keep this drywall where the window's coming in, I don't really care about. And they still have locking coming across here. So no electrical there. Stud, so we're safe. So I can easily cut that all the way across and not worry about hitting any electrical.